Well, it was inevitable. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are the next Pokemon games. Is anyone surprised? No? No, of course it's not a surprise. Because fans, you guys, have been hounding Game Freak about Diamond and Pearl remakes literally since Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire came out. I remember people getting angry when Ultra Sun and Moon were announced during 2017's Pokemon Direct instead of Diamond and Pearl remakes. Full on spam disliking the announcement video in protest. That was nearly 4 years ago. Wild. Fans were so relentless that evidently Game Freak decided they didn't want to make a Diamond and Pearl remake at all and just tossed it to someone else. In all seriousness though, I was very surprised to hear that this is the first mainline game ever that isn't produced by Game Freak. It makes sense. With Legends Arceus coming out only a few months later, they couldn't have reasonably made both. These games are developed by Ilka, and I'll be real, I hadn't heard of Ilka before the announcement. Apparently they previously worked on Pokemon Home. Junichi Masuda, who also directed the original Diamond and Pearl, does have a main role in the remakes, but the whole concept of it not being made by Game Freak is just not natural to me. And I know there are plenty of Pokemon games that I love that aren't made by Game Freak, but never a mainline one. I'm nervous, okay? I'm one of the millions of kids that grew up playing Diamond and Pearl, so there's a lot of sentimental value on the line. But the trailer, I wasn't really sure how I felt about it at first. I then went and watched a bunch of live streams, and I find it hilarious that everyone had pretty much the same reaction as me. Oh, hi! Sinnoh confirmed, baby!
Wow. Wow! What the hell?
Okay. No! What kind of pipsqueak moment?
Small! Small. I was not expecting this. I still don't really know how to feel about it. I feel like part of it is because we've grown so accustomed to Pokemon in more realistic proportions. They just keep getting taller. If Pokemon had never moved away from tiny chibi designs in the first place, then no one would think anything of it. But here it's just unexpected. Part of what people look forward to in remakes is being able to see the world really fleshed out from a new perspective. But with a game where the intention is to keep it so tightly bound to the original, it's, well, bound to disappoint some people. I hope at the very least they'll still keep the full style for cutscenes. I'm gonna lose it if I'm looking at this face during the climax at Spear Pillar while the universe is coming undone. I'm sure I can get used to it though. It's really not a deal breaker since most of the Pokemon games I've loved to play use this exact style. It's not so much the style of the graphics that I have reservations about, but rather the execution. Basically, the colours are messing with me. I don't want to be too critical here because it's a different developer and their games aren't going to be out for maybe another 9 months, so it might not even be final. Though people have said that for years, and for the most part the graphics haven't really changed much from the trailers. But I'm just not big on some of these colours. I have no experience with game development, but I am an artist, so I appreciate pretty colours, okay? Here's some examples. Floroma Town, easily one of the prettiest places in any Pokemon game. We got a sneak peek of it in the trailer, and I just... Do you see what I'm trying to say? I know that the colours obviously aren't going to translate exactly when rendering it into 3D, but with just how dark the grass is here, it doesn't feel as cohesive and the borders of the different groups of flowers stick out in a way that they didn't before. Or Route 202. Compared to the original, the grass is a warmer hue and much darker, so it blends in with the wild grass and trees more. But then the overall contrast is much higher, so my eyes don't know what to focus on. And then there's the trainer models. Barry's is probably the one I have the most to say about. All of these models are lineless, but with a design like Barry's, it can be harder to make it work because his skin and hair colour are fairly similar. So with what we see in the trailer, the hair and the face sort of blend together, so it's hard to tell where the face ends and the hair begins. I've seen a lot of comparisons flying around between this and Barry's Pokemon Masters model. No, I haven't played Pokemon Masters yet because it quite frankly terrifies me. I don't know how fair it is to compare models made by 2 different studios for 2 different platforms, but I can see what people are getting at. I don't know what sort of timescale or resources Ilka would have access to, but I'd hope it would be more than a gacha game, right? I suppose more of the reason why it sticks out is because we already have Switch games to compare them against. Made by Game Freak, but still Pokemon Switch games. I remember thinking at the time just how gorgeous the colours and lighting were in Let's Go. Beautifully vibrant, but not distracting. And I'm just talking about the main game. The cutscenes, And that was Game Freak's first Pokemon Switch entry. I guess if you discount Pokemon Quest. They were still finding their feet with this new console, but they managed to make something that still looks great now. I do find it incredibly funny that everyone was bashing on Let's Go a couple years ago, but now they're hyping it up to compare it against the new trailer. I don't know how much another lighting pass would help because I don't work in games design, but it's hard not to feel like there's still more potential when seeing fan touch-ups of scenes or even just comparing it to older titles. There's still 9 months before the game's release, so who knows? It might come out looking totally different. I know most people aren't going to care as much as I do, but this is my dumb thoughts video, so I'll talk about what I want. If we're going based on the trailer alone, I expect these games to be more of a 3D remaster than remakes akin to what we're used to. It all makes me question what even qualifies as a remake at this point. Let's make our own checklist. From Fire Red and Leaf Green to Auras, they were all games that were the same story-wise, but running on the same engine as the previous game, and so made to match their aesthetics too. They have an updated Pokédex, redesigned characters, as well as new features and areas to really flesh the games out more. Then we've got Let's Go. Let's Go is a weird one. Let's put it into our checklist. Does it have the same engine and or aesthetics as the previous game? Well, Let's Go was the first mainline Pokemon game on the Switch, so it doesn't look like Sun and Moon or Sword and Shield. It's kind of just its own thing and runs on its own engine. It does have some of the more updated mechanics and features like Mega Evolution from the more recent games. The characters were a little more chibi than what we were used to, but it was still extremely different to the last time we saw Kanto, so we really got to see it in a new light. We'll give this one a line. Updated Pokédex? You can only get Kanto Pokemon and I guess the Meltan line, so that's a no there. Redesigned characters? Yes. Remakes before this usually just jazzed up their outfits a little so you could distinguish them from the originals, but Let's Go just straight up put new characters in there. And new features slash areas. Kind of. They had a few new features, but not quite in the same vein as previous remakes. The verdict. Is Let's Go a remake? Kind of. It's not a remake, but it's not a remake. So now we've only got the trailer to go off, but let's tentatively put the Diamond and Pearl remakes into our little checklist. Does it have the same engine and aesthetics as Sword and Shield? That's obviously a no for the graphics, but I would assume that the battle mechanics and things like that would be updated to how they function in Sword and Shield. They added fairy types, maybe some new moves, but it's hard to really know much past that. They might add some of the optimizations from Platinum, Spy Porygon Z in the trailer. That wasn't actually in Diamond and Pearl's main game, so hopefully we'll have the Platinum regional decks. I just need more than 2 fire types, please Game Freak. I mean, please Ilka. Updated Pokédex? There's no way to know this from the trailer, but if we're hedging bets, I'm gonna say no. National Dexes are a thing of the past, and if the whole theme of these games is to preserve the original Sinnoh experience, I can't see them shoving in as many new Pokemon in the post-game as they did Auras. Going a step further, I genuinely would not be surprised if they don't have trading capabilities with Sword and Shield outside of home, perhaps only being able to trade Pokemon from the original Sinnoh regional decks, or possibly the Sinnoh national decks. Seems like a whack point, but it happened with Let's Go, so I'm just putting it out there. I like to think I'm quite good with predictions, but I sincerely hope this point ages like milk. Okay, redesigned characters. Nope. These guys are exactly the same. That's it, I'm not buying the game, I want a new outfit. And new features slash areas. Again, no way to know this from the trailers. I really hope they have some new features, but I would be leaning toward no here. If the focus truly is on preserving the original experience, I would be surprised if they started adding in new areas akin to the Sevi Islands or Mirage spots. Pleasantly surprised. I very much want to be wrong. Probably not Battle Frontier though, don't get your hopes up. Have we not learned from last time? So in terms of the official Pokemon remake criteria that I didn't make up, Let's Go seems to have more typical remake qualities at face value, and the community can't even seem to agree whether or not Let's Go counts as a remake or even a main series game at that. So again, at face value, these games feel like more of a 3D remaster as opposed to what we've come to know as remakes. This is all tentative though. I could be completely wrong. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl could have a vast array of new features. I do see a bit of speculation swirling around about the possibility of new Mega Evolutions. It's confirmed that there's going to be a figure campaign for the remakes featuring Mega Lucario and Mega Charizard, which wouldn't really make sense if they weren't in the game, right? They did the same thing with Let's Go before Megas were confirmed there too, so it seems pretty likely. So first, that would mean that we would at least have more Pokemon available outside of Sinnoh's regional decks with Charizard and all, which seems obvious, but I don't know what to expect these days, okay? But it does open up the possibility of new Megas. It'd be a little awkward hyping up Megas in the remakes and then just not giving them to the starters, right? I want my big penguin. Or maybe they'll do what they did with Let's Go and just sneak them in at the end. I do wonder, with it being made by a company other than Game Freak, what sort of far-reaching changes they'd really be at liberty to make. It's a tad confusing because even though it's not being made by Game Freak, you've still got Junichi Masuda as one of the directors, you've got Shota Kageyama, who worked as a composer for Game Freak for many years, who's also returning to work on these games. But as far as I know, we don't know anything about the art team yet. Will James Turner or Ken Sugimori have anything to do with these games? I need answers. But all I know is this. Get ready, Unova fans, because in less than a year, it's gonna be your turn to beg for remakes for the next 6 years. Are you ready for Small Hilda? Here's something more about Pokemon remakes. Recently, I've been streaming a lot of Pokemon Fire Red over on my Twitch channel. I'm a VTuber now. I'm trying to complete a shiny hunt I've had going for literally 7 years. Next stream is Tuesday, March 9th at 8:30 PM GMT/3:30 PM EST. I made tons of new emotes and it's just generally a fun time. Okay, see you there. Bye.